South Africa donated tons of maize meal to the people of Zimbabwe who were affected by severe flooding caused by the tropical cyclone Idai weather system in 2019. Meanwhile, on Tuesday, Zimbabwe's government erected a 10-foot tall statue of Nyanda Charwe Nyasikana, a spirit medium who led a rebellion against British occupation in the 19th century. This evening, we'll look at the priorities of Zimbabwean government during this time when the country is faced with immense poverty and the economic crisis, with former Zimbabwean Cabinet Minister Patrick João. Patrick, good evening, and thank you so much for your time tonight. Some continue to say that where Zimbabwe finds itself right now is because of a government like yours that was led by the late former President Robert Mugabe. What do you say to that as, you know, these concerns continue to mount?
Good evening, Bongiwe. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to speak with you. And I think maybe first thing that I should do is thank the South African people and the South African government for that kind gesture towards the victims of the unfortunate cyclone Idai. However, coming to your question, my colleagues and all of us that worked under President Mugabe are no longer in government. We've not been in government now since 2017. We're now 3.5 odd years away from that. Emmerson Mnangagwa promised a new dispensation. But some of us that know him, some of us that have worked with him, are very, very clear and have always been very, very clear that he does not have the capacity to be able to move the country forward. And one of the challenges, or one of the accusations that were made against colleagues of some of my colleagues and myself, were that we wanted to move ZANU-PF and the country towards a generational change, towards having young people below the ages of 40 being able to contribute towards the development of the country and to have a forward-looking perspective. Unfortunately, the coup that was engineered by Emmerson Mnangagwa and his sycophants has not brought relief to the people of Zimbabwe, because they continue looking back. It's as if they're driving using the rearview mirror. They have no vision for the future. They have nothing to talk to, which really can galvanize the economy of Zimbabwe and can galvanize the society to an extent now where Emmerson Mnangagwa is trying to change the constitution and stop a 70-year-old Chief Justice from retiring gracefully. So this is the state of affairs we have.
It sounds to me then like you're saying this aid that was sent by South Africa to Zimbabwe may have been misplaced, as some continue to decry the fact that just as the aid was coming through, the country then unveiled a statue that is set to cost millions of dollars, and this is, of course, Mbuyane then, and unveiling this particular statue at a time when the economy appears to be collapsing.
Yes, it's not just the statue which is problematic. What is also problematic is that traditional leaders were gifted with 270 brand new vehicles. And to make matters worse, there was a fire at Tumpilo Hospital in Bulawayo. And when the fire brigade tried to attend to that fire, their pump was not working. So there are lots of things that need to be done within Zimbabwe. Unfortunately, the Emmerson Mnangagwa regime does not seem to have its priorities correct. They are looking at the wrong things, to a point where the South African government is now coming in at great expense to the South African taxpayer and at great expense to the South African population to assist Zimbabwe, whereas Zimbabwe should really be managing its own affairs.
All right, Mr. João, I'm not sure if you can still hear us. Your line is breaking up there.
I can hear you quite well.
All right, great. Okay, thank you so much for staying on then. As I was listening to you, you know, some may say that it's a case of a cat calling the kettle black, but I'd like to move on to this particular issue then. There's been developments around the body of your then late uncle, that exhumation then that was ordered by those chiefs then. What do you make of that? And why has it come now?
I think it's another sign of desperation by Emmerson Mnangagwa. The reason I say this is because Emmerson Mnangagwa met with the chiefs on the 11th of September 2020 last year, where they hatched this plan of exhuming the mortal remains of President Robert Mugabe and in effect violently desecrating his final resting place. Now, this again is another very, very graphic example of how Emmerson Mnangagwa has got his priorities mixed up. Instead of moving forward with the country, instead of conceptualizing issues that can move the country forward, instead of giving sufficient space for people to be able to engage with the government and for people to be able to tell the government where it makes mistakes so that the government can self-correct, he is focusing backwards. I mean, honestly, how then do you have a president that is so consumed with digging up the mortal remains of President Mugabe?
What motive could he have then? Because, I mean, certainly these chiefs are saying that he should have been buried at the National Heroes Acre. What motive then are you accusing the president of having? Because these are the chiefs that we are seeing who are making this decision.
But the chiefs were represented at the burial. Number one. And number two, the burial was done above board. There was a burial order which was duly authorized and issued by the Ministry of Home Affairs, which has particular responsibility for issues around deaths, birth certificates, and burial orders. So there is really no issue here except to divert the attention of the people of Zimbabwe, to divert the attention of the whole world from the crises, from the multiple crises that Zimbabwe is suffering from.
So are you saying then that the former First Lady broke no rules or laws here?
The former First Lady knows that, and therefore the summons and the judgment that were issued against Mai Mugabe are misplaced. It is the responsibility, or it was the responsibility of the Mugabe family, the broader Karigamombe clan, to bury their patriarch, and they did that. And this is why these summons were then issued to the wrong person. And really, this is an issue that really, when one looks at the law around traditional courts and traditional justice system, is really a misnomer. And one wonders why this is happening. And this is happening because Emmerson Mnangagwa has really lost it. He's totally lost it. He's become a grave robber.
He's become a grave robber.
That is exactly it. I mean, how do you go in and start digging somebody's final resting place?
And if you then can take us into your confidence here, if you've spoken to Mai Mugabe, and how does she view what is currently happening, and what has she had to say about these developments?
Obviously distressed, and by this very unfortunate intrusion into into her private life. And honestly, it's almost as if she is losing a husband again for the second time. It's almost as if we are losing our uncle again for the second time. We've been going through the processes of mourning and the processes of grieving, and we were just about to get over those processes. And then Emmerson Mnangagwa and his cronies then want to bring this up. It is sad. The man must preoccupy himself with running the country, and running the country well, which he is dismally failing to do.
And tell me then, where to from here? Are you going to comply to these orders to exhume, or are you going to be challenging this?
I think this obviously needs to be challenged. It is wrong. It is wrong at law because firstly, the chief has no jurisdiction. And then secondly, the chief then wants to then say that President Mugabe must be reburied at the National Heroes Acre. He has no authority of determining where President Mugabe gets buried. President Mugabe was very, very clear that on where he wanted his mortal remains to be interred. And really, we must respect that. It's only the decent thing to do.
Patrick, it certainly sounds like this is a battle that is not going to end anytime soon. We'll definitely be watching developments then around this. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Certainly do appreciate it. That's former Zimbabwean Cabinet Minister Patrick Joao. He's also the nephew of the late former president then, Robert Mugabe. Certainly then it looks like they're going to be challenging this decision by the chiefs to exhume the remains of the late former president, and certainly they're not taking this lying down, as you would have heard them then, that how the former first lady has now been left distressed by this particular decision. Let's